My lover thrust his hand into the hole, and my insides yearned for him. I arose to open to my lover, and my hands dripped with myrrh. That's from the Bible, the Song of Songs, chapter 5. One of the most sexually explicit poems in the ancient world, sitting in the Hebrew scriptures. This is the story of how an erotic love poem with no mention of God became sacred scripture. To understand this poem's journey, start with what it claims to be. The opening line attributes it to Solomon. 1 Kings chapter 4 credits Solomon with 1,005 songs. His name appears about 6 times in the text, but Solomon never speaks in the poem. The language points to a much later date, likely post-exilic, meaning after 539 BCE, centuries after Solomon's era. This is attribution by prestige, a common ancient practice of crediting works to famous figures to lend them authority. Solomon didn't write this. Someone wanted his name on it. The poem's structure is unlike anything else in the Bible. The dominant voice belongs to a woman. She speaks to her beloved and to a group called the Daughters of Jerusalem, who function as a kind of chorus. A male voice responds. The setting is pastoral. Gardens, vineyards, fruit, flowers, perfumes, flocks of goats, shorn ewes. This is a world of sensory abundance, and one figure is conspicuously absent: God. The poem is frankly, unapologetically erotic. Return to the Walsh translation passage. My lover thrust his hand into the hole, and my insides yearned for him. I arose to open to my lover, and my hands dripped with myrrh. This is not veiled metaphor. This is the language of physical desire. And here is the second stunning fact. God is not mentioned anywhere in the entire book. No covenant, no commandments, no prophecy. On its face, this is a secular love poem. So we have an erotic poem with no God attributed to a king who doesn't speak in it. The ancient rabbis noticed the problem. Some questioned whether the Song of Songs belonged in the canon at all, the canon being the official list of texts accepted as sacred scripture. Enter Rabbi Akiva, late 1st to early 2nd century CE. Akiva declared, the whole world was only created, so to speak, for the day on which the Song of Songs will be given to it. All the writings are holy, but the Song of Songs is the Holy of Holies. The Holy of Holies, that was the innermost, most sacred chamber of the Jerusalem temple. Akiva isn't defending a love poem. He's defending what he believes the poem really means. Akiva's defense rested on allegory, right? A mode of reading where characters and events stand as symbols for something else. In the Jewish allegorical tradition, the lovers become God and Israel. The garden becomes the promised land. The erotic language becomes a vocabulary for divine covenant love. Christianity later applied the same strategy. The lovers become Christ and the church. The garden becomes paradise. And the poem's passion becomes the soul's longing for union with God. Notice what happens in both readings. That glaring absence, no mention of God, gets completely reversed. In the literal poem, God is nowhere. In the allegory, God is everywhere. The lover is God. The same text, inverted. Allegory solved the canonization problem, but it created another. It preserved the poem by silencing its original voice, and that voice belonged predominantly to a woman speaking openly and joyfully about desire. The allegorical tradition kept the song alive, but buried the very thing that made it remarkable. Step back and trace the full arc. The Song of Songs likely originated as erotic love poetry in the post-exilic period, 5th to 3rd century BCE. Someone attributed it to Solomon for authority. It entered the collection of writings that would become the Hebrew Bible. Rabbis debated its place. Akiva declared it the holiest text, and then across centuries, Jewish and Christian traditions allegorized every line, transforming a secular poem into a vehicle for theology. This is how canons work. A community includes a text, but inclusion comes with conditions. the text must serve the community's story. Right? Scripture is not just what a text says, it's what a tradition decides it says. And yet, that original voice, passionate female celebrating human love, is still right there on the page.